Joining me, Elwynn Taylor, and he was one of the featured speakers here at the Conservation Tillage and Technology Conference. And Elwynn, we talk about managing Mother Nature. Is that really something we can do, or how do we really deal with this overall moisture situation?
Well, you're not going to manage Mother Nature, but you sure can manage the effects that Mother Nature has on us. We call this risk management. And we're not going to change the weather, but we certainly can change how we respond to it, and even have some effect on how our crop's going to respond to nature.
We look at the last two growing seasons, particularly in Ohio, we had about as opposites as we can imagine. I'm not sure what farmers are thinking we might have this year. I guess somewhere in the middle we think would probably be a good place to start.
Well, I think so, and in fact that is the exact number that I put out earlier this year. If people said, what can we expect for the yield? And my number was, well, at the moment, if I have to say something, 157 bushels the acre for the national average. But they say, well, it could be a lot higher than that, couldn't it? I said, yes, if we have a normal summer, that's in quotation marks, of course, then we'd have to put that into 162 bushels, which is the trend line for the nation. And if we have a summer that stays with the La Nina, then it might be as low as 147, or even worse if it should turn into a drought.
How big of a role does today's technology and our hybrids play in ending up the ability to manage some of that risk? Because I've heard a lot of farmers say over the last couple of years, if we'd had the varieties we had 10 years ago, we wouldn't have had a crop.
Well, I think that's probably accurate. There's certainly no question that the uptrend that we have had over the past years is purely good plant breeding and, of course, the management that go with it to reach those capabilities that those plants have. But we do have much better yields even under poor conditions. However, I've noticed something. The percent change with the bad weather or the percent improvement with good weather is the same now that it was in the 50s. So bad weather that would have cut the yield in half in the 1950s will still cut it in half, but the half is way up there.
It just starts a lot better potential in the first place.
That's it.
As you look at things producers need to be aware of, obviously they can help manage some of the moisture and the risk by having drainage at home on the operation. They can look at good variety selection. Are there some, what's the next step kind of things to eliminate some of that risk and better prepare themselves for the unknown?
There are a few things we can do as we go along during the crop year, such as add a little bit of nitrogen if you need to by a lay-by, or some people call that a foliar application, and when you see that things are behind schedule. So other than watching your crop and keeping up on things, the main thing that you're going to do once the season is underway has to do with your marketing. To take advantage of, if you're going to come up short and the state's going to be long on crop, how are you going to handle that? Or vice versa, if you're going to have a lot of crop and the nation's short, how are you going to handle that? And to optimize the way your marketing is. And a couple of farmers have said, you know, that's been a real surprise to me. It's as important how I do this marketing as how I do my field work.
I think we've been trying to tell them that for several years, but it kind of took a back seat for a lot of years.
Well, you know, it's a lot harder to sit here and push a pencil than it is to get on a tractor and enjoy the ride.
It's a lot harder to talk about the profit you made this year than what the yield was, too.
That's absolutely the truth.
Elwynn Taylor, my guest, one of the featured speakers at the Conservation Tillage and Technology Conference.